Now, bringing you the 2015 State of the City Address, Mayor Rick Graham and City Administrator Victor Lee.
Got everybody's attention now.
Test, everybody? Oh, good, yeah. Can everybody hear us? Well, welcome. Thank you for coming today. And seems like we were just here last year doing the same thing. Introductions real quick. I think you know who we are. That was obvious. And we'd like all the aldermen to please stand. I see Vice Mayor Bruce Hall, Alderman Casey Williams, Alderman Amy Worth, Elliot Mitchell, I'll get them, Susan Zimick, these are all the aldermen, and Alderman Chad Wittenberg. And Jonathan Duda, where's he? There he is, Alderman Jonathan Duda, thank you. And Representative Jeremy Durham's here. Jeremy, thanks for coming. Steve Albrook from Marshall Blackburn's office. There's Steve, thanks for coming. If I missed anybody else, apologize. City staff, would all the city staff please stand? These are the guys that make it happen. Go back to the back. Thank y'all. All right, guys, we got a lot to tell you, so you're going to have to listen fast.
Well, as you all know, 2014 has been just an incredible year. We've had so many great things that have happened during that year. It's just really been tremendous. We could tell back in 2010 that we thought we had just began to turn the curve off the recession, and 2011 was better, 12 was even better, 13 was great, 14 was outstanding. I think there's three reasons why we had such a great 14. First reason is we've got the right leadership team in place. Second reason is we developed a plan and we worked our plan. Third reason is we managed our finances very well, and so we've come out once again with a very strong financial situation. So I think it's a great position that we're going to be in. I want to tell you a little bit about our leadership team. First of all, even before I came here, we had Jim Smith, who is our finance director. Jim done a great job with the city. With Jim was also April Goad, who is our city recorder. And Jim serves as an assistant city administrator, so I go to him quite a bit for a lot of different management things. April has been there with the city for years, probably our longest employed employee, I guess. Been with the city for about 30 years, doing a super job. Also in our senior leadership side, we have Dan Allen, who we added a couple of years ago. Dan's also an assistant city administrator, and he is my infrastructure director. And everything that's dealing outside, water, sewer, parks, streets, everything like that, all falls underneath Dan. And Dan has been an outstanding add to our organization. Next, this year we hired Terry Hood, who is our fire chief, and we're glad to get that underway. We've had Don Bright, who's been our police chief now for about 5 years, and Don has really taken our department in a great direction. We've had Terry, who is our fire chief now. We have Brandy, who is over our dispatch department. But we've also had two other really key adds this year. The first was Dara Sanders, who is our city planner. I'm not sure if Dara's in our audience today, but she has just been outstanding. Brought her in late in the fall. She has done a super job. She came to us from Shreveport, Louisiana, and has had lots of experience and has already made a difference in the planning side of our department. But we also added another key critical staff, and that was Jamie Page, our communications officer. Of the late, you may have seen a Twitter, something on Facebook, media stories, things like that. That's all due to Jamie being able to take the city, what's happening here, and reaching out to you all to say this is what's happening in the city. It has been outstanding. An example of that, we were needing some public feedback on a particular project. Only just a handful, and I say a handful, I mean about 10, 12 people showed up for a public meeting. Jamie put together a survey monkey and then also put it on Facebook. We have had over 1,500 responses now due to his effort. Just a fabulous job. Fabulous. And you all we spent a lot of time last year talking about our library. We've got Alan Couch as our library director. And as you'll hear a few stats later on in the presentation, the library has just continued to excel. So it's been really great. Key staff, the number one component. I'm behind.
Yep. And I'm going to add into this. You don't know about this. This is going to surprise Victor a little bit. I always have a surprise. And you guys know when I ran for mayor, you know, I conveyed to you that, you know, I'm not going to pretend to know it all and be that know-it-all type soloist of a mayor. And that it is a collective of individual talents that make a city function well. And, you know, because we have a bunch of talented soloists. All the aldermen, our leadership, the city staff that Victor's been talking about, plus many others, you know, but I believe in a symphony. I believe more that a collection of soloists in a symphony makes more sense than just a talented soloist. You know, and we're blessed here in the city. We have the maestro. Victor Lay, we're so blessed to have him, you know, especially our team. And as this city has grown and what we've had the last few years, it takes a strong maestro to pull together and lead over 200 city staff and to do what he does with the aldermen and the board and to keep up with us. And, you know, and not just one of my goals, but I know several of the aldermen, I'm hoping all of them, you know, one of our goals this year is to give our maestro a contract extension this year.
Thank you. You want to talk about our plan?
Let's do it.
Well, the city's put a plan in place this year. It's got a lot of different components to it. We have a lot of problems, as you know, and like last year, we got together and we developed some priorities, and then we worked those priorities and we're able to accomplish them. Kind of what we're doing this year.
Yes, and you know, the key to ensuring infrastructure, you know, is that we keep up with the growth, you know, and being diligent about our city, planning. And you've already heard the word planning how many times. And that's our area that we're investing a great deal of our time and resources. You know, a year ago, we had a lot of those problems. You know, we stood here in front of you and told you several things that we were challenged with at that time. Some solutions that came in just 2014. Besides all those people we brought on to help us achieve all these projects, Commonwealth Drive completed this year, road opening. And go ahead. Reserve Boulevard, another road opening. Turning lane at Buckner Road and Main Street. That was on the city's dime on our state road. Another turning lane as you go into the Commons shopping area, again on the city's dime. The repair of the roundabout and the crossing. Synchronization of traffic lights. And we're seeing what's like a 15%, 23% improvement in traffic flow going through Spring Hill just by synchronizing these lights. And we found in some major repairs too. But and going back to those roads, some of those roads like Commonwealth was some private and public partnerships what made that happen. And I see John Mayer's here. He was one of those. Johnny Ring. And the reserves was another. Yep, Crutcher, thank you. It's very important. The city cannot do everything. You know, we need these kind of private-public partnerships to make this happen. Again, that's all part of the symphony. We started the Rutherford Creek sewer line. We completed the carbon feed treatment plant, which is going to provide all of us better quality water. We completed a needs assessment for City Hall. Need space there bad. Library, need space there bad. I'm going to talk about some stats there in a little bit. And our police department. We have some big needs. We always, roads, parks, and these kind of needs is what we're working toward. And we got to start. That's just a start. We could go on and on and on. We are tracking about 100-something projects right now, and that we're working on. With this growth comes the need of municipal space. And I mentioned, you know, we're going to have to add on to City Hall, and we've got to do something about a new library. But it's been an incredible year. We've put a line through not all of our problems. We all know the frustrations that we're still working on, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But again, we've knocked off some solutions, and again, I just want to emphasize it took a symphony.
It does take a symphony in many, many areas. It takes a little sympathy too.
Yeah.
It takes a symphony in many, many areas. And so that's why you have to have a lot of different components that make up and have a good, successful year as a city. Strong finances is one of those components. We started out in 2013 of finally coming out of some really crippling debt. Up until then, the city really had no extra money to devote to any type of capital improvement program or any extra thing that the city wanted to do. Plans were put in place back in 2007 so that the city would systematically pull themselves out of that debt. Since then, not only have we removed that debt, we've built a really solid reserve fund. We've now been able to, for 2014, establish a very significant capital improvement program and go out and be able to borrow money where before we weren't even capable of doing that because we didn't have the credit rating or the financial rating to be able to do so. All of that is possible now, and it's all because we've really struggled hard, and really that was a foremost component that we stay within our means. We work within the budgets that we have. I always show you a slide every year of what the city budget looks like, and really it's a mixture of about 7 different budgets. Each fund has to stand on its own, so we can't take money from water and sewer and go invest it into the general fund. Likewise, we can't do the reverse either. So really it's 7 budgets that we have to maintain. And as I've mentioned before, the key things that you want to look at is that when we budget and for revenue and expenses, we like to see that our revenues are going to outweigh our planned expenses. And once again, for this year, that's the case. The second big thing and the big takeaway that you want to look from this particular chart is that we're halfway through the year. And so halfway through the year, we're seeing that our revenues are where they need to be and our expenses are where they need to be. We're running on track. So it doesn't look like at this point that we're going to outspend what revenue we projected. What that does for us is that allows us to be able to understand exactly what kind of income we're going to have, make plans for being able to continue to build the reserve fund, and also plan for the future. Right now, in this coming year's budget, we'll end up having to put a component together. Part of our budget for 2015 will be to start the payback for the money that we borrowed in 2014. So that's going to be a solid component of it. And while we have had a fairly sizable revenue over expenditures in the past few years, that's going to narrow this coming year because we've got those new expenses coming on. But it's unlike the debt that we had before, where that wasn't buying you anything. That was just us getting out of some bad financial mess. This, going into debt and paying it back, is buying you infrastructure. It's getting things in the city that we've needed in the city, and we'll continue to be able to do that. So we're good for this for right now. We've got the money that we need to pay this note off. That's not to say that on down in the future at some other time the city might have to do something differently, but we're sitting really good right now. And it allows us to do quite a bit of things. I always show you building permits. And this is probably the key factor, this and sales tax data that shows how well our city is doing. As we've talked about many times before about how we ramped up in 2005, 2006, and we bottomed out in 2009. We did about 180 permits that year in 2009. Last year, I said 2013 was a great year, and it was. And we did 507 building permits for 2013. 2014, we thought, you know what, that's 500 is a great number. Man, if we can just hit that again, we're doing good. Early on, we projected, well, it looks like we're going to hit maybe 530. We ended up with 586 brand new homes being built in Spring Hill in 2014. That's incredible. That deserves some applause right there. That means folks are wanting to live here. They're finding Spring Hill to be an affordable place to live. They're wanting to move here. It's a great place to raise a family. What does that do to our population? If you look at this, you see that we started out pretty low back in 1990. Yeah, I think the population at that point was around 800, something in that neighborhood. You can see the curve really steepened as we went through the mid-2000s and those huge building permits and folks were moving in like gangbusters. Our last census that we did was in 2013. And right there at 2013, we came in at 32,053. 2010, we were at 29,000 and change. In 2013, 32,000. Now, think about it. That was 2013. And if it's being done in 2013, it doesn't get to include all the permits that were pulled in 2013. So even if you took only half of the permits that came out of 2013, just say only count on an additional 250, plus the 586 that came this year, you add those together and say, well, what was the city's demographic? How many people per household? Where is your population today, do you think? That puts that number on up closer to 34,000. So today, I think if we did a census today, we would be right on top of 34,000. That's pretty significant. Very significant. But what does that mean going to the future, Mayor?
This is what's coming. Spring Hill rising. If you look very conservative, you just heard the number 568 for building permits this year. Taking just a very conservative 500 permits for the next 16 years. That's 500 homes a year. And using about a 2.5 average, as we mentioned, we're looking at 53,000 people by 2030. Let that soak in a little bit. In 16 years, that's 8,000 new homes. Folks, we have 10,000 homes right now. That's 8,000 new homes, 10,000 right now.
When you look at that chart, you think, really, is that really going to happen? Well, the fact is that the whole Nashville region did a study a couple of years ago. And they're projecting out for 2030 that in the Nashville region, there'll be 1 million more people by 2030. In Williamson County, 250,000 additional people alone. Their number actually comes back and verifies this number. And they're showing Spring Hill being in the mid-50s by 2030. Now, the mayor said something important there, that's 500 building permits a year, 500 homes a year, based on 2.5 people per household. Well, guess what? Our demographic's not been that. Our demographic has been 2.74 household. If you back that number out and say 53,000 and the difference and back it all down, that 500 actually drops to 365. Now what's the likelihood that we're going to hit that? I think 53,000 is probably an accurate projection for where we're headed. That kind of sets the tone for what we need to be planning next.
Should build a new facility in the future. It takes time to prepare. We all know that. Let's dig into the big elephant in the corner, and that's the traffic. You know, we all get frustrated, and I have to remind people all the time that myself and the aldermen and the other city leaders, that's the reason we're in office, was the traffic situation. But everyone realizes we did not get into this overnight, and it's something we're not going to fix overnight. And but we plan. We're making all the plans now. Everything you've heard today, and we're going to rise. We're going to rise, and we're going to get above it and eventually solve it as we play catch up in North Spring Hill. And we are encouraging growth south and southeast of Spring Hill, as you well heard us say many times.
So Abe Lincoln said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe. That's what we're doing right now. We're sharpening the axe because we've got things to do and things to move on. This year we're doing planning studies at Buckner Road. We've already had about 3 public meetings. That was the one where I said we weren't getting good participation, so we put out the Survey Monkey and Facebook had 1,500 responses, over 1,500 responses. That's the kind of input we're looking for. In conjunction with that, we're also continuing to work on getting an interchange at Buckner Road and I-65. As a part of all that, we're studying the entire, that was Buckner Road, we're studying the entire Buckner Lane corridor as well, because we know that if an interchange comes, that area is going to be incredibly impacted. We're working on completing our major thoroughfare plan. We're working on completing a comprehensive land use plan for the city. Just have got the steering committee for that organized, and they've met a couple of times. We've just been presented the very first part of a bike and pedestrian plan that's been presented to the park board, and ultimately will go to the planning commission. We're still working on Duplex Road. We're right in the middle of evaluating all those properties and having our consultants meet with them and start the process of purchasing right-of-way. It's probably going to take us maybe about a year from now to start getting all that right-of-way purchased. But the other thing is we got TDOT to put it in their 3-year plan for construction. That's a huge deal. And we're not going to forget about US 31. We're planning on doing some more study on it to see what we can do within that right-of-way. Traffic signals are being planned this year, this spring, at Miles Johnson and Highway 31. You're also probably going to see them at on Port Royal at the Kroger. Kroger's actually paying for that signal. We're looking at that intersection that's just down from Kroger at the Haynes Crossing Port Royal intersection. There's the potential for traffic signal to go on the ramps of Port Royal and Saturn Parkway. The state's been looking at that. Don't know that they'll get put in 2015, but they are definitely committed to getting them put in at some point in time. Other projects, we've got the Rutherford Creek Sewer System that Rick's already mentioned that we've got started. It's underway. We'll be building that piece out. That'll allow for some capacity issues on the east side of town. And one of the things that you're going to be seeing, and it's going to take a while to build it, you'll think it's already done, but we'll be erecting a brand new 1.5 million gallon water tank just up at the Hardin Landing subdivision. And it's something that you're going to be able to see throughout the city. It's going to be a big elevated tank. We'll have the city logo on it. It'll be something that's reasonably attractive, as those things can be. It'll be up probably within maybe 3 months or so, but it won't be usable because then they'll be doing all the interior work, and that'll take about a year before they actually put that online. That will help sustain us for future growth and water usage for areas that deeply need it now.
And what else is coming? Everybody knows we're building a new park. The Port Royal Park, 31 acres. It's going to be the city's largest park. We should have a soft opening for the park in March, not far away. It's going to include football, basketball, tennis, playgrounds, concessions, pavilions, a splash pad, which is going to be very popular. So it's going to be the summer hotspot for Spring Hill. Fire station. Number 2 will be located there. That will replace the old temporary makeshift facility we have in that house. So that'll replace it, and that should open in March. Now am I ready for this one? A little sneak preview Okay? And here's the future for Crossing Circle extension, past the movie theater over to Kedron Road. Okay? This is the first rendering's been seen, and we're very excited about it. And we are very, very much, it's a high priority to get this thing done. And that's going to open up our this northern Saturn Parkway corridor on the north side for economic development, safety purposes. It just goes on and on. And that'll connect onto the new Reserves Boulevard that we just built. Now, thank you. We're going to change the name. The Crossing Circle Boulevard will be changed to Luther Bradley Parkway. Who is Luther Bradley? He was a brigadier general. He was the one that was in charge of that hill, because it's really close to, right on past the road to here on Dallas, the hill. That hill used to be called...
Used to be called Bradley Hill, now it's called Weaver Hill or
Weaver
Battlefield Hill.
Yeah, you can, and but he was the brigadier general in charge of that hill during the skirmish in the Battle of Spring Hill. So we felt it appropriate to name the road for him. So it'll be Luther Bradley Parkway. Tonight at 7 o'clock, Dan Allen here will be doing a town hall meeting at the library, and it'll be about the study and discussion and what you guys continue to want to see for this road. And we do have a lot of, this road's going to be very complex because we do run through really close to our battlefield area. That's it. Next, this is the big one. One more thing, this is huge. And first to hear about this one should be all over the news tonight and around the state. But what is the one thing that Spring Hill would greatly benefit from that probably we didn't dream we would ever be able to obtain? Yeah, it kind of leaked out there earlier. 4-year degree. We'll be able to offer a 4-year college degree here in Spring Hill within a year here at Northfield. We were told not to disclose school names and things like that, so we will do our part there, but because there is contracts to be signed and things to be done. But the Board of Regents has approved this, and this will evolve onto additional colleges and degrees that'll be done at this complex. So we just cannot be more excited. And who would ever thought, we'd be able to have where our kids could go to college here in Spring Hill and get a 4-year degree. Spring Hill Rising. Folks, and I hope today that, with all the trailers and the videos that we've led, if you've been watching social media from Jamie, and that we've led you well today to understand that we are on a rise. We're trying to, our plans are to manage it well, and we have a lot of work to do. You've seen that we got a lot done in 1 year. We still have a lot more work to do. But what does Spring Hill Rising mean? It just means our future. It's left to be determined. It's going to be determined by the people in this room, and your city leadership, the maestro here, and city staff. It's not all about building permits. It's not all about being like the cities around us. We're not trying to compare ourselves or to be like our neighboring cities. But it's about Spring Hill. Spring Hill's fine on its own. We can make a city that'll have our essence, our preferences, our taste that fits us. And we're going to move past. We have moved past some challenges already. And the challenges we have today, we're going to move past them. And it's all about planning and moving on. So please get with us. Please get on the train. Because I don't need to tell you that fast-moving trains don't stop for barking dogs. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much. Rick, Victor, wow. That is excellent. That is excellent. We've got a few more things